Welcome to Terrier Talks. I'm your host, Sophia Faustino, and this week we're glad to have one of our own from St. Francis College. A Franciscan brother of Brooklyn, director of the Office of Mission, Ministry, and Interfaith Dialogue, and the co-director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Brother Greg Cellini is here with us.
Great to be with us.
All right, thank you so much for being here. And today, my first question for you is, what is Franciscan Month? What is the initiative? When did it start? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I'll be glad to, Sophia. It really ties into the radio show that I host, thank God, for Monday, a weekly talk show about the workplace. Because for the past 5 years, we've really tried to theme shows. Pride Month is June, Black History Month, March, etc. And I've learned so much about these great movements. About 2 years ago, it struck me, what about our great movement, the Franciscan movement, over 800 years old? Wouldn't this be a great way to educate others, to celebrate by having its own month? So about 2 years ago, I came up with this idea. The college bought into it. Last year, we had Franciscan Month here. This year in 2024, we are trying to extend it to the New York City area. And our ultimate vision, 2026, is to have a global designation, believe it or not, of Franciscan Month. 2025, we're going to go national.
That's so interesting. So, can you tell us a little bit about your life before St. Francis College?
Wow, that's a really, really great question. Thank you for that. I was born and raised in suburban Clifton, New Jersey, 2 wonderful late parents and my 4 wonderful siblings. And I was there for many years until moving to East Rutherford, New Jersey. But in between, I started my career in pharmaceuticals. And I actually ended up being in pharmaceuticals for almost 29 years. Great career in human resources, mostly in the finance area. I obtained my CPA while I was there, had a lot of different positions. And then my last work, I was doing training and staff development. And then I was downsized in 2006, and as often happens when one gets downsized, it forces them to take a look at their life. And I made a jump to become a Franciscan brother of Brooklyn, and greatest thing that ever happened to me.
That's great. And can you tell us a little bit more about the process, or when you felt called to become a Franciscan brother?
Well, it's very interesting because back in 2005, in May, I met with my management from Europe on the morning of May 25, actually, and I had a sense they weren't so pleased with me. I had a sense that some change might be coming. So I went to Mass that night, and I was the altar server, and I was praying in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and I said, God, you take this over. I screwed this up enough. And sure enough, that was the night really I opened my heart. I didn't know where God was going to take me. Kind of a funny story, the company I worked for, Roche, had a wonderful parent company in Basel, Switzerland. So I was praying for a couple of years for an international relocation. And it's funny, they say be careful what you pray for, because God did answer my prayer, sent me on an international relocation, not to Switzerland, but to Brooklyn. What could be more international than Brooklyn?
That's so good. And what does it mean to be a Franciscan brother to you, or what Franciscan brotherhood means to you?
Well, I've learned so much about brotherhood and sisterhood since I've come into the brothers. And it's very interesting because I lived alone for 12 years. And I had a sense that God wanted me to live differently and love differently. Again, I didn't know what that would be. But I learned since becoming a brother, it's no longer about I and my. It's about we. It's about our. And this is what brotherhood is all about. It's really about not only yourself, yes, somewhat, but mostly the other. There's an interdependence, a total dependence on God and an interdependence on one another. So we try to help each other by serving each other, by sharing our needs with one another, and really, it really is about being brother. St. Francis said, everyone is brother and sister. There's no such thing as stranger. And this to me is what brotherhood is all about.
Great. So how does it being in the college environment affect you, or what are some of the main takeaways you take from it?
Wow. I mean, I'm just so grateful to be here. I had this career in pharmaceuticals, and it's a high-pressure environment in pharmaceuticals. Here, I've really been permitted, our wonderful president, Tim Ciceri, has really empowered me to utilize my skills, utilize my strengths, be who I am. And I may not look at exteriorly but I'm very young at heart, certainly, and the college has really helped to revitalize my life and re-energize me in a lot of different ways. And I feel 25 years old the many days that I come in here. And that's because of students like you, Sophia, bring me such great joy. And it's so wonderful just to see your dreams unfolding and the dreams of literally every student we have here at St. Francis College.
That's lovely, thank you. And so we know that the theme for Franciscan Month this year is peace. So what does peace mean to you, and why was it chosen as the theme?
Well, Franciscan peace, some people think that means there's no conflict at all. Contrarily, I believe that conflict, and I've been in situations where conflict can be healthy. It can lead to reconciliation, but it can also lead to doing things better and people being better. Having said that, we chose it for this month of October as Franciscan Month, the theme of peace, because our world sadly is very divided. For some reason, and I can't put my finger on it, there seems to be a propensity to hate. And we're trying to transform that. We're trying to propensity to love, to really get along. When we look at the peace prayer of St. Francis, things like love and faith and hope and giving and pardoning and sharing, these are things that we want to spread this Franciscan peace literally throughout the world.
So pivoting on that, the question is, why does it matter? What is it important about sharing the Franciscan values?
There are so many places where we need Francis. Francis died in 1226, literally almost 800 years ago. But yet students and others are telling me Francis and his way of life is just as relevant today, or even if not more, than it was 800 years ago. So things like relationships, right relationship with creation. Francis is the saint of ecology. What are we doing today to Holy Mother Earth with climate change and so many other things of this nature? How are we treating our Earth? Relationships. Again, we're all brother and sister. Unfortunately, many people become estranged in this world. We have to get beyond that. We have to have right relationship. And there's so many other ways that living a Franciscan way of life. So right here at the college, we have 4 wonderful Franciscan values: learning, integrity, family, equity. These are all things that we do here so well at the college that create life, Franciscan life. We need to now take this Franciscan life and share it with the rest of the world.
Lovely. And how can we apply the Franciscan values in today's world?
Well, it's very interesting you asked that, because this is one of the real aspects of Franciscan Month that we are trying to get across and have happen. So, for example, our relationships here at the college. We have this wonderful resource pantry, because I know myself, when I was downsized after 29 years, I needed a hand up. Everyone needs a hand up at different times in their life. We have this wonderful pantry here so people can come in, no questions asked, and take what they need, certainly. That's the hand up. We've also got a wonderful Franciscan service program that was recently started. Again, giving of ourselves. These are all ways that we live our Franciscan values. It brings people together. It takes people away from the margins, brings them more to the center, so we can all have what we need. Very interesting. Mother Teresa said, let's give up what we want so others can have what they need. And that's something Francis would say as well. So there's so many ways, be it relationships, be it other ways, that we can live the Franciscan way, and the world will be a better place.
Great. You mentioned the Franciscan Service Program. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, we have a committee that Professor Robert Justic oversees, and it's really amazing because service is such a key Franciscan attribute, such a key virtue. So we've partnered with several organizations, nonprofits, and when they need volunteers, there's an opportunity to go volunteer there. It's a wonderful website as part of our SFC website. There's a couple of pages on the Franciscan Service Program. You fill out a couple of forms, you look to see who you may want to volunteer with. And what we really believe is, we know that people have passion for certain causes, for certain charities. These are the ones we want them to feel empowered to go help, certainly. So that's why we've got a broad range of them, and several that really want to partner with SFC and its students.
That's great. Right, and then on the other side, why do you think younger generations are not affiliated with religion anymore as opposed to older generations?
That's, Sophia, such a great question and a complex one. And I have to tell you in response that I'm heartened to see there are certain groups now of young people who are getting back to religion. But it's very interesting. They're going back to the more traditional. Now, I'm an old baby boomer, but yet I don't remember the Latin Mass. But these young people are going now to the Latin Mass, certainly. Now, having said this, I remember when I was your age, my early 20s, faith and worship were very important. Today, they're not so important. The other couple of things is technology. Technology today really isolates people. And I dare say that sometimes they feel they don't need God. They just have their technology. Sadly, the pandemic really exacerbated this. So I think these are some of the reasons that people have lost touch with religion. But again, I think everything goes in cycles. I think we're going to get to a situation, we're starting already, that young people are going to see that they do need God, that they do need a more organized religion. Now, we mentioned the Franciscan Service Program. Also, one of the reasons I love your generation is that more and more they're getting into volunteering, they're getting into service as a way of expressing their love for God. There's a lot of different things happening there.
And what are some lesser known facts about St. Francis and St. Clare of Assisi?
Oh my goodness, these two great saints, Francis, our founder, Clare, his greatest follower. We'll start with Francis. Believe it or not, he had a bit of a sweet tooth. He used to love these almond cookies one of his very close friends by the name of Lady Jacoba would make for him. He would request them from time to time, and they were very, very close, certainly. So he had a bit of a sweet tooth with those cookies. Clare, on the other hand, not so many people may know, she was a noble. Her family was very wealthy, one of the most wealthy in Assisi at the time. And the expectation is that she would marry and bear many more nobles. But what happened, of course, she listened to Francis. Ironically, her house was right next to one of the churches where Francis would preach. And she was mesmerized by what he had to say. And so she decided on Palm Sunday 12/12 she was going to follow Francis. She escaped from her home. She went down to meet Francis. He cut her hair. She took vows to become a Poor Clare. She started the Poor Clares, this group of sisters that are flourishing today. But the irony is that her mother, who was a widow, followed her, and her couple of sisters followed her. They gave away all of their vast riches to those who were poor, and they followed her into the privilege of poverty.
It's so interesting.
It's so fascinating to learn about Francis and Clare, and that's why the impact of the Franciscan movement today, what can be, is infinite, just as it was 800 years ago.
Of course. Have there been any moments in which you questioned your faith or questioned the vocation as a Franciscan brother, and how did you overcome them?
Wow, that's another great question, certainly, Sophia. I want to share with you one of the things I've learned going from a single person to a religious. No vocation is perfect. Whether you're single, whether you're religious, whether you're married, we all have the joys, but we also have challenges and difficulties. And yes, indeed, I've had my share in the 15 years I've been a Franciscan brother of challenges and differences and difficulties. But what I have found is that during those times, my faith gets stronger. I lean on God as the rock of refuge. I know that God wants me to be a Franciscan brother of Brooklyn and remain for the rest of my life. I also know God's love for me is infinite. So I just draw upon that love. And something that I've learned also is that it's during these challenging and difficult times that I learn so much more about myself, and it becomes transformative. Somebody said to me after my heart was breaking a couple of years ago about something, that the only way that God can get into our hearts is if they break. And wow, that changed my whole perspective on things. And when I look back on even just my 15 years as a brother, I've seen that these challenges and difficulties, I've learned so much about myself, and I've learned so much about life. These are really transformative experiences. No question about that.
For sure, for sure. That's a beautiful message. So, is there any final message you would like to leave the audience with, or any words of affirmation?
Well, thank you very, very much. I just hope that they'll participate in Franciscan Month. There's going to be something for everyone. There's going to be activities, there's going to be information, there's going to be fun, there's going to be prayer, there's going to be a whole bunch of things. We really have something for everyone, so we're hoping everyone will participate one way or another.
All right, Brother Greg, thank you so much for coming. Great to have you here.
The honor's been mine to be interviewed of someone of your ilk, Sophia.
Thank you. So this has been Terrier Talks. As a reminder, like, comment, and subscribe to SFC Terrier TV here on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram at SFC Terrier TV. I'm Sophia Faustino, and we're heading out.